Listen, don't you have some problems in your life? Don't you, even if they're very deep and buried, have some issues that are poking you at places that are causing you to behave in certain ways or not look at certain things maybe perhaps you should be looking at? Then if you feel like there's something inside of you that you want to find out, let's do this together. Let's find a way for us to become very aware of all of the inner workings that are adding to the situation. Now, if one wants to figure out such a deep issue, one must be also free to look. Now, how is one going to do that? Because every day we're walking around with the conditioning that we have, with the preconceptions that we have. How is one going to rid themselves of all of the obstacles that get in the way of looking and all of the strings that pull us in different directions? Look over here, look over there. How are we going to look clearly when thought is always conditioned to look unclearly? With all of the baggage that our experiences and that our past brings along with the looking process. One of the ways that people have attempted to do this in the past is to simply breathe. Because when one comes back to their breath, they're not thinking about stock prices. They're not thinking about what they should paint. They're not thinking about what their father told them 13 years ago. They're not thinking about how they look while they're sitting. They're not thinking about anything besides the feelings of the breath. And you could do this right now. Breathing in, feeling breath. And breathing out, feeling it go. Breathing in, feeling it enter you. Breathing out, relaxing your shoulders and all the things in your mind. Even breathing a couple times, we see that there is a higher ability to look with clarity. Because now, when we look, for instance, at the way in which we look, there is a higher chance that we'll actually see what is going on. Instead of seeing what we're expecting to see, instead of seeing what we want to see, instead of seeing what our beliefs tell us we're seeing what actually is, seeing the way in which we look. So this issue that is deep inside of us, that is causing and motivating us to behave and act and feel certain ways, how can we look at it with clarity? How can, now that we're more calm, we're feeling what is actually happening, because we are breathing. If we weren't breathing, we wouldn't be here. So that's a fact. We're breathing. We feel the fact of the breath. We're in a fact. From that fact, let's look at what motivated me to do that thing that I regret. Now, right there, when I say with the word regret, what's the first thing that comes in your mind? It might be a thing about the speaker, what he regrets. It might be a thing about, when I say the word regret, it might point you towards that thing in your life that you regret. But whatever the fact is, look at how your mind jumped right to something because of a voice, because of a word, regret. Your mind immediately jumped to that thing. So now look at that thing. while breathing, look at that thing that your mind jumped to. See its tendency to jump to that thing. Now you know we were already calm, less distracted by variables that are accumulating throughout the day, and more in touch with the strongest parts of our being, the most influential networks of our neurological pathways. And now, when I say the word regret, what happens? See and watch how your mind moves when presented with that variable in such a clean environment. Because when we're breathing and paying attention to the breath, we've already removed a decent amount of variables that are bound to mess with this experiment we're doing in looking at ourselves. So we're breathing, we're calm, and then the word regret is introduced. What do you regret? What do you wish didn't happen, or what do you wish did happen? Watch carefully the way your mind moves when presented with these variables in this very clean area we've created for ourselves by bringing ourselves back to the breath. Regret. Look. Now when you look, watch the way in which you look. Do you look with your preconceptions? Do you look with your culture? Do you look with the experiences that you've had, which may be very limited and skewed? Do you look with a goal in mind or with a desire to achieve something? Because if I desire to achieve some sort of idea, like what I think happiness would be, if I am looking at the way in which I look with this idea of happiness in my mind, I want to achieve that. That's making you look in a certain way when in fact I don't know what that happiness actually is. I have an idea of what happiness might actually be, which is directing my search. But since I actually have never experienced the thing in which I seek, the direction of my search will be in a skewed, misinterpreted pathway because of my desire to reach a thing that I have no idea what that thing even is, but I think I do. So it's pointing me in that way, but that way might be the wrong way. Maybe there's no way. Maybe if I sit right here and I look at all the things that are holding me and all those little tiny things deep in my mind that are poking at me, maybe then I'll be able to see what's preventing me from reaching the true happiness in which I think that I seek. Now, watch the way in which you listen to the speaker. The speaker is just going with the flow and speaking as he goes, so there's no editing in this. So in the words that the speaker is saying, watch all the judgments that arise in the way that he pronounces words, perhaps, or in the way that he pauses and says certain things, in the way that he speaks about himself in the third person. Whatever it is, watch your mind react to what you're being presented. Learn and see the way you intake information. Maybe the way that you intake information is flawed. Maybe the image you have about the speaker when someone is speaking to you, or when you're hearing this video, you have an image about the speaker, and that's preventing you from really hearing the words of the speaker. Whatever the case is, we come back to the fact that we want to figure out what is going on inside of us. What is motivating us to go through these same cycles and these same mistakes and these same agonies and the same pain that we can't seem to rid ourselves from. We may escape from it, but any form of escape doesn't give us the answer to the thing we're escaping from. So while we look at the things inside of us that might be motivating us to act in certain ways that we want to change or that we recognize as harmful, we have to first understand and know the way in which we look. If I know, for example, that when I look at myself, I look usually with an idea in mind that I'm supposed to be a certain way. I'm such a smart guy. So when I look at myself and the issues that are going on, I see myself interacting with these variables in an intelligent way. But this might be very wrong, and this might be skewing the way in which I'm looking and skewing what I can even receive intelligently. So when you're looking right now, breathing in, feeling the fact of breath, feeling your chest, breathing out, letting go any tension in your body, and then I say the word that hurts so much. That's a whole bunch of words, I know, I'm sorry. Pain. Think of a time or a moment when you experienced immense amount of emotional pain. That first thing that you just had pop into your mind right there, you can analyze it. Now, why did that hurt me so much? I mean, it's a very significant thing, no doubt, that occurred. It's a hurtful thing that would hurt and traumatize many people because of the ways that the mind works and because of the ways that relationship works and because of the way that we love. But look at it carefully for a moment if you can. Don't get lost in the story about the situation that caused the pain. Don't get lost in the thoughts about yourself or the other person or the other variables in the situation. Just watch yourself and how you react when I bring up that moment of pain that we're talking about. When I say, what hurt you in your life so bad that it changed the way you are right now? That right there. That thing, that experience might be changing the way in which you operate every day. You might wake up in the morning and go and talk to your coworker or your boss or your friend or your mother or your sister or whoever or your dog or just the way in which you look at your steps on the ground and the way that you sit up in the morning and see the sky or see the window or see the TV or anything. The way in which you consciously perceive reality and react to that perception might be skewed by this painful moment. There's various variables that could be occurring. Now remember, we were looking at what stuff inside of us is motivating us or influencing us to behave in certain ways. This event might be one of the motivating factors. So you might see the way in which you engage in behaviors you see as maladaptive and that you're trying to change. You might see in those behaviors tomorrow, today, or whenever they arise again, the influence that this painful experience that we're talking about has on those behaviors, if any. It might not, but be careful when you're looking and be watchful. See, when we're not attentive, when we're not paying attention to the way in which we act, to the way in which we react, to the way in which we look or pay attention, when we're not paying attention, any action that's born from inattention is a wastage of energy. But any action that is born from complete attention cannot be a wastage of energy. Any action that is born from seeing what is a reaction to fact, is a reaction to truth. But usually we're not seeing what is. We're not being attentive. We're not paying attention. We're not seeing. We're lost in thought. So perhaps throughout the rest of your week, throughout the rest of your day, throughout the rest of your life, you could start to pay more attention to the way in which you look at what is around you and what is you and everything, the way in which you watch or the way in which you don't watch. Because when we understand the way in which we look, then we understand the first step in acting rightly.